I hate going to the bar. Too many people, and I feel like an idiot because I have no idea what I'm doing. Do I sit down? Do I try to talk to the bartender? Can I get a Jack and Coke? Don't judge me. So, in order to get better at ordering at a bar, I'm going to not do the thing I need to do, which is actually start going to one. No, instead, I'm going to make a video about it so I know how to do it. Let's get started. For thousands upon thousands of years, humans have figured out ways of escaping their dreaded existence. One of these ways is consuming alcohol. Chemically speaking, there are three types of alcohol: ethanol, methanol, and isopropanol. The only type of alcohol that humans can safely drink is ethanol. We use the other two types for cleaning and manufacturing, not for making drinks. Both methanol and isopropanol are poisonous to humans because our bodies metabolize them as toxic substances, which cause liver failure. Despite what you saw in Deadpool and Wolverine, drinking even the tiniest amount of rubbing alcohol can be fatal. For nearly all of our history, we've consumed ethanol-based drinks in order to change how we feel. It acts as an inhibitor to your central nervous system, shutting down coordination and judgment. It's great for when you want to stop overthinking social situations and act stupidly confident, but there's a consequence to this. When you drink, you are literally poisoning your body. Your only saving grace is the fact that usually, you don't consume enough to kill you. Usually. The human liver can metabolize and process ethanol, but only in limited quantities. Over time, the actual compound of ethanol damages your liver, your brain, and other organs. It also rewires your brain to want more and more of it, which can lead to a dangerous alcohol addiction. That's why it's so important to know your limits when you drink. It's also important to understand the basic terminology associated with alcohol so you can find your limit. Before we get to all the different drinks, we need to make sure we're on the same page. Alcohol by volume and alcohol proof are two measures of alcohol content, or the concentration of alcohol in any given drink. Alcohol by volume is the number of milliliters of ethanol per 100 milliliters, or 3.4 fluid ounces in a solution, while alcohol proof is twice the percentage of alcohol by volume. So, a drink which has 50% ABV will be 100 proof. When you drink, it's important to know what a standard drink is. A standard drink in the US is 0.6 fluid ounces of alcohol, but since different drinks are different percentages of alcohol by volume, the physical amount of each beverage you can consume before you die is different. Also, how do you know if something is alcoholic, even if it doesn't say that it is? Well, for legal reasons, it has to be pretty obvious. Look for words like hard or dirty. These are words commonly associated with alcohol. When something is hard or dirty, that means it's the alcoholic version of whatever the drink is. A hard lemonade is a lemonade with alcohol. A dirty Shirley is a Shirley Temple with alcohol. Also, a spirit, not a spooky ghost. Spirit is just another term for distilled liquor. Speaking of which, alcoholic beverages can be divided into two categories: distilled and undistilled. Undistilled drinks are the ones that have been fermented, meaning their ethanol comes from yeast, sugars, and starches. Wine and beer are both fermented, undistilled alcoholic beverages. Wineries ferment grapes to make wine, and breweries ferment barley, wheat, and other grains to make beer. Distillation is a process which follows fermentation. The process converts a fermented substance into a substance with an even higher concentration of alcohol. Distillation concentrates alcohol by separating it from the water and other components. Liquors and spirits are distilled. In general, a distilled alcoholic beverage will have a higher alcohol proof, and therefore more alcohol by volume. So, just to make sure we have it all straight, undistilled means it was only fermented, and these include beer and wine. Distilled means it was fermented and then made stronger by manually separating the alcohol. Distilled drinks include liquors and spirits. But first, let's cover the undistilled drinks. They have less alcohol by volume, so you can drink more before you get drunk. First up, good old beer. It's one of the most popular drinks in the world, only being beaten out by tea and water itself. It's probably the oldest alcoholic drink in history due to its relative simplicity. A typical beer has about 4 to 6% alcohol by volume, although some beers have higher or lower concentrations. For example, light beers only have between 2% to 4% ABV, while malt liquors have between 6% to 8%. It's one of the least effective alcoholic beverages out there, and so is usually cheaper. One of the most important things to know when it comes to consuming alcohol is the standard drink. Remember, a standard US drink is 0.6 fluid ounces of pure alcohol. If beer is around 4% of alcohol by volume, then the standard drink for beer is one 12 fluid ounce can. Why is this so important to know? You typically measure drunkenness by how many drinks you've had. Someone who's had 12 fluid ounces of beer is 1 drink deep. Someone who's had 12 fluid ounces of vodka is 8 drinks deep, and is probably dead. It's not about volume, it's about concentration. Beer is yellowish-orange in color, with the exact shade being determined by the specific grain fermented. There's a lot of different types of beer and brands around the world, but in America, you're mostly sticking to lagers and ales. The difference comes down to which species of yeast you're using. Our most popular brands include Bud Light, Budweiser, Miller, Coors, Corona, Michelob Ultra, and many, many more. Bud Light is by far the most popular. In a 2024 survey, 33% of respondents enjoyed Bud Light. It's followed by Corona Extra, Budweiser, Heineken, and Blue Moon. Fun fact, beer cans were actually a technological breakthrough. Exposure to light will spoil the beer, so keeping it behind the aluminum was advantageous. Cans are also less prone to leaks. Paradoxically though, this benefit isn't much appreciated today, because canned beer is associated with cheaper, mass-produced brands. Wine is another ancient alcoholic preference due to its relative simplicity and its process involving fermenting grapes. Standard wine has 14% or less alcohol by volume, which still beats out beer by a wide margin. Champagne, the most well-known sparkling wine, has an alcohol concentration of about 10 to 12%. Some wines are fortified, which means they become distilled, and therefore made stronger. Port, Madeira, Marsala, Vermouth, and Sherry are good examples of fortified wines. They usually have around 20% alcohol by volume, along with double the calorie content. Because wine has more alcohol by volume, the standard drink is much smaller at 5 fluid ounces. There are many categories of wine. Red wine is made by crushing dark red grapes and allowing them to ferment. The skins are actually left on the grape to help influence the deep color and taste of the wine. Some of the most popular subcategories of red wine include Cabernet, Merlot, and Pinot Noir. That's the stuff you usually find for cheap at a Kroger. One serving of red wine has around 125 calories. Rosé wine is made the same way as red wine, but fermented for a shorter period. Rosé usually contains natural sugar and starches, making the calorie count higher than normal wine. It can be still or sparkling. White wine is created when you ferment the grapes without the skins. And since all grapes are the same color on the inside, any grape can be used to make white wine. Popular white wines include Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, and Pinot Grigio. I'm sure I pronounced those 100% correct. It's pretty similar in caloric value to red wine. Add carbon dioxide to create sparkling wine. Popular sparkling wines include Prosecco, Champagne, and Cava. There are other types of undistilled drinks. It's not just beer and wine. You can actually get pretty creative with what you decide to ferment. Fermenting apple juice gives you hard cider with 5% ABV. fermenting a mixture of water and honey creates mead, which has a wide range of alcohol by volume. It's highly caloric, with a 6 fluid ounce serving containing around 250 calories. For reference, 6 fluid ounces of Coke only contains 75 calories. Sake, a well-known Japanese drink made from fermented rice, has an alcohol concentration of about 16% ABV. Kombucha comes from sugared tea that has also been fermented and introduced to yeast. Store-bought kombucha has an alcohol content of 0.5% and around 120 calories. There's a lot of stuff you can make, and it probably warrants a video of its own. Now, distilled drinks have higher proofs and will get you drunk much quicker. When someone talks about getting nice stuff, this is usually the stuff they mean. Distilled drinks have a standard drink size of 1.5 fluid ounce. Compared to beer's 12 fluid ounce, you could simplify it by saying distilled drinks are 8 times more effective at getting you buzzed. When people say liquor and spirits, they mean distilled drinks. Gin is typically made from fermenting grains like wheat or barley. It's fermented, then distilled. Apparently, to be classified as a gin, the predominant flavor must be of juniper berries. Otherwise, the drink legally cannot be called gin. Most gins have anywhere from 35 to 55% ABV, way stronger than a Bud Light. Popular gin cocktails include gin and tonics, the martini, and a Tom Collins. Now, I've never had gin, but my source says it tastes like a Christmas tree. Because of this, it should not be done as a shot, and it's not good for beginners. Botanical ingredients used to flavor gin include various spices, roots, and fruits. Besides the required ingredient of juniper, common additives include cinnamon, cardamom, pepper, and nutmeg, but we can get even more out there. Unique flavors can be created with the addition of saffron, baobab, frankincense, clove, ginger, and even pine needles. Brandy is actually wine when it's been distilled, similar to a fortified wine. The concentration of alcohol in brandy ranges from 35 to 60%. Apple and plum are popular flavors, but brandy can really be made from any fruit. Popular brandy cocktails include Sidecar, Pisco Punch, and Eggnog. And again, my source coming in clutch here with a review. Tastes like fruit and oak, almost never done as a shot. An acquired taste. The cheap stuff is really bad and will ruin it for you. Whiskey, the man's drink. Cowboys drink this one a lot. Whiskey is made from fermented grain, with the alcohol content ranging from 40 to 50%, a real big one. It's the pretty color of amber, which makes it really nice to look at. Not great for shots though. These are your Jack Daniels, your Jim Beam, and your Crown Royal. Now, as someone who hates the taste of alcohol, I kinda like whiskey, even if I can't drink a whole lot of it. Jack Daniel's Tennessee Honey is legitimately great. Even the smell is fantastic. Popular whiskey cocktails include Jack and Coke, whiskey sour, and an old-fashioned. By the way, an old-fashioned is ice plus bitter plus water plus whiskey, garnished with an orange slice. What about bourbon? Bourbon is just a type of whiskey. Rum is a drink that's commonly associated with beaches due to its incredible popularity in the Caribbean. It's a drink made from distilled sugarcane and molasses, both huge exports of the region. It's typically 40% ABV, but some rum is overproof, meaning that it has an alcohol concentration of at least 57.5 ABV. Most overproof rum exceeds this minimum, usually reaching 75% alcohol by volume, which is equivalent to 150 proof. Super strong. Pina colada, rum punch, and daiquiris are great variations on the old formula. It's described as fruity and spicy, good for shots, and great for beginners. The Mexican agave plant is used to create tequila. The red volcanic soils in the region of Tequila are well suited for growing the blue agave, and more than 300 million plants are harvested there each year. The plant itself is really pretty picturesque. It's roughly 40% alcohol by volume. It actually needs to be at least 51% agave in order to be called tequila. Tequila is used to make tequila sunrise, paloma, or even straight up as a shot with lime. It's known for its intense flavor, and apparently, it's prone to over-drinking. Tequila gets ruined for people because they go too crazy with it too fast. Vodka is made from fermented grains and potatoes, originating from Poland, Russia, and Sweden. It's also got a 40% alcohol by volume. It's neutral, colorless, flavorless, and a good mixer, which I'll explain what that means very shortly. Popular vodka cocktails include vodka and club soda, Cosmopolitan, and the Moscow Mule. This is one of the hardest hitting types of alcohol. The taste is really intense. Not even taste though, because it doesn't really taste like anything, but it still manages to knock you on your ass if you're not prepared. Side note, I think it's really cool that every country contributes to this industry. Each separate nation has come up with their own unique type of alcohol. I never really put two and two together, but yeah, vodka does sound like a Slavic word, doesn't it? Now that you're familiar with the types of alcohol, it's time to learn how to order them. My main source for this is an actual bartender who has compiled all of this stuff onto a blog, which will be linked in the description. The tricky thing is, all bars are different, and you're not going to know the exact process until you walk in. But in general, you talk to the bartender first. They'll ask you what you want, and if you want to open a tab. Opening a tab usually means they take your credit card, and just charge any subsequent drink you order to it. Keep the tab open if you plan on A, being there a while, and B, plan on ordering more than one drink. Now on to modifying your drinks. Ooh. The most basic kind of modifier is the liquor plus mixer. A mixer is another beverage that gets mixed into whatever distilled alcohol you prefer. You've probably heard someone order a Jack and Coke before, right? The Jack is a Jack Daniel's whiskey, and the Coke is, well, Coke. Gin and tonic is another classic one. First, you name the liquor, vodka, rum, gin. Then you name the mixer, Coke, Sprite, ginger ale, tonic. It's important to do these in the correct order as to not confuse your bartender. But not every mixer goes with every liquor. Here's a handy table, straight from my source. With vodka, you can mix cranberry juice, soda, lemonade, and orange juice. With rum, you get ginger ale, Coke, fruit punch, and pineapple juice. Whiskey gets you Coke, ginger ale, lemonade, and apple juice. Gin with tonic, lemonade, and orange juice. Tequila with cranberry, OJ, and grapefruit juice. And brandy affords you the orange juice, cider, and even coffee. Big fan of coffee-based alcoholic drinks, by the way. It really takes the edge off. You also need to clarify how you want your drink served. First, there's short and tall. This is basically how much mixer you want in your concoction. A short drink will be served in a smaller rocks glass, which looks like this. It'll give you equal proportions of liquor and mixer. On the other side, a tall drink will be served in a taller glass, which is typically 2/3 mixer. So if you're like me and you're really sensitive to taste, you'll probably want to order a tall drink. Single or double refers to how much alcohol you want in your drink. The usual standard is just a few ounces. This is something to keep in mind when ordering drinks and will vary from bar to bar. Dive bars tend to have larger pours, while corporate restaurants and high-end bars... Bars? While corporate restaurants and high-end bars have smaller pours. A note here from my source. Importantly, when ordering a double, keep in mind that it doesn't change the size of the glass at most places. This means that if you order a double whiskey and Coke, it'll likely be served in the smaller rocks glass, meaning that you might have up to 4 ounces of liquor, leaving only enough room for 2 to 3 ounces of mixer. Some people want this, some people don't. If you are one of the people that don't, you might consider ordering a double tall, so that you maintain the 1-to-1 liquor to mixer ratio and effectively have 2 normal drinks in 1 glass. A call is when you get specific about what brand of liquor you want. So, instead of saying whiskey and Coke, this is when you'd specify a Jack and Coke. What does it mean when something is top shelf? In marketing, top shelf means premium liquor and premium prices for the discerning customer. In most bars, top shelf is going to be basically anything on the back bar or behind the bartender. If they have to turn around to get it, you're paying more. You can expect to pay an additional $4 or more per drink if you're getting top shelf. Now on to shots. A shot is a small glass of alcohol. You can get it chilled, which means it goes over ice in a rocks glass, or you can get it straight, which is when the bartender pours it right in the cup. When you're doing shots, you're supposed to get it down as fast as possible. A neat is when you drink the liquor straight out of the glass, and you're not trying to go as fast as possible. You're not mixing it with anything else or doing a shot. You might also hear people ask for a chaser. A chaser is like a separate glass of something non-alcoholic. It's just there to help stop the burning when you do a shot. Another term that's thrown around a lot is on the rocks. On the rocks means it's served over ice. That's it. It's pretty simple, except a lot of people are super finicky about their ice. Some people want large ice spheres, or even whiskey stones, which are literally just rocks, like the mineral. They're meant to keep the drink cold without diluting it. So, that's pretty much all there is to it. You are now an alcohol expert. You know, just to be real for a second, I'm actually really happy with the way this script is turning out as I'm writing this. I think it reads as like a quick tutorial rather than a boring info dump. Hopefully I've included some interesting visuals as well. Anyway, I'm gonna be focusing a lot more on my sexual health and wellness content after this. There's a lot of videos that I want to do on that channel. So, make sure you're following my second channel, Coretta, if you want to see those. They're gonna be really fun. Hard to monetize, but we work with what we've got. So, thank you all so much for watching. I love you all. Good night.